Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a bit different. We're taking a close look, a really strategic look, at what I believe is the next fundamental wave in AI for the enterprise. We're talking about agentic AI. For you leaders, decision makers out there, this isn't just another tech upgrade. It's really a structural shift in how digital work gets done. We've pulled together the key insights, focusing on what you truly need to know to move forward.
Absolutely. There's so much buzz around autonomous systems, AI agents. Our mission today is really to cut through that noise. We want to extract the critical knowledge, particularly drawing from, well, your new book on agentic AI, to understand what actually moves the needle for a business. And the stakes seem incredibly high, right? It's this shift from a chatbot that just answers questions to something more like a proactive, autonomous digital employee.
That's exactly it. Proactive versus reactive. And the timeline isn't some far-off future. Gartner's prediction really underscores the urgency. They're saying by 2028, just a few years away, at least 15% of daily work decisions will be made by autonomous AI agents. That's not incremental, that's transformational. It's moving from AI assisting humans to AI leading processes, with humans supervising.
Okay, so let's nail down the definition then, because words matter here. What exactly is agentic AI when you strip it all back?
Right. At its core, agentic AI refers to an AI system that you give a high-level goal to. Let's say resolve this customer issue or optimize this supply route. And then, crucially, it autonomously figures out the steps needed. It creates a potentially complex multi-step plan, and then it executes that plan, taking actions independently, interacting with other systems until the goal is achieved. That independence is key.
Independence and proactivity. So unlike, say, ChatGPT or other LLMs we've gotten used to.
Exactly. Think about the current tools. They're fundamentally passive. You prompt them, they give you text, maybe code, and then they stop. They wait for the next instruction.
Right. They need constant human input to keep going.
Precisely. An agent is different. You set the objective, like handle incoming customer refund requests according to policy X, and it just starts working. It perceives the request, reasons about the policy, plans the steps, check CRM, check ERP, draft email, and then takes those actions, all without you needing to guide each individual step.
Okay, that makes sense. Can we make it even more concrete, maybe with that customer complaint example you mentioned? How does it play out? Old way versus new way?
Sure, let's take a standard customer complaint email. My product arrived broken, I want a refund. The traditional way, even with an LLM. A human support agent might use the chatbot to help draft a polite reply, but then that human still has to manually, step by step, log into the CRM, check the customer history, switch to the ERP, verify the purchase, initiate the refund workflow there, go back to email, personalize and send the reply, then maybe set a calendar reminder to check back in a few days.
That sounds like 5, maybe 6 distinct manual steps, lots of room for delay, for error.
Exactly. Now enter the agentic system. The agent receives that same email. It uses its perception capability to understand the intent, refund request, and urgency. Then it autonomously queries the CRM, verifies the purchase in the ERP against company policies stored in its knowledge base. It identifies the correct action, let's say issue the refund. It then initiates that refund via an API call to the ERP. It drafts a personalized, policy-compliant email confirming the refund, sends it, and maybe even sets an internal flag or reminder for a quality check in 3 days. All done.
Wow, okay. And the human only gets involved if...
If something's truly unusual, maybe it's a high-value item outside the agent's automatic approval limit, or the customer's request is ambiguous, or it detects potential fraud signals. Then, and only then, it escalates to a human supervisor with a summary and a recommendation. But for the 80% of routine cases, handled. Minutes, not hours. That's the scalability benefit.
That's a powerful difference. So what are the underlying capabilities that make this possible? You mentioned 4 pillars.
Yes, for clarity, especially at the executive level, thinking about these 4 pillars helps understand how it works. First is perception. This is about the AI taking in information, text, images, maybe structured data from forms, even voice, and understanding it. Extracting the context, the intent, the urgency, the sentiment. Modern NLP and computer vision are key here.
Okay, perception. Got it. What's next?
Second is reasoning. This is the thinking part. The agent interprets the information it perceived, connects the dots, draws conclusions, often using processes like chain of thought, which you hear about. This helps it handle ambiguity, maybe even quantify risk, like saying there's an 80% chance the issue is X based on the data.
So it's not just pattern matching, it's actual deduction.
Yes, a form of logical deduction based on its training and the context, which leads directly to the third pillar, planning. Based on its reasoning, the agent needs to translate that into a concrete plan of action. This isn't just a simple checklist. It can be complex, hierarchical task. A needs subtasks, A1, A2, B needs C, and adaptive. It needs contingency plans. What if the API call fails? What's plan B?
Adaptive planning. Okay, that sounds crucial for real-world messiness. And the final pillar.
The final pillar is action. Without this, it's all just thought experiments. Action is the agent's ability to actually do things in the digital world. This happens through what we often call tool calling or function calling, basically. The agent's ability to use APIs to interact with other software. Update a database, send an email, query a system, initiate a transaction. That's what makes it an agent. It acts.
Perception, reasoning, planning, action. Okay. That framework makes sense. So if these are the components, why is now the time? Why 2025 is the inflection point? What's changed?
It's really a convergence of three key factors hitting maturity almost simultaneously. First, the LLMs themselves, models like GPT-4, Claude 3.5, they've reached a level of reasoning and, crucially, reliability and function calling that just wasn't there even 18 months ago.
Reliability and function calling. You mean actually using those tools correctly?
Yeah, precisely. 2 years ago, asking a model to call an external tool, like that ERP API, it might fail, maybe hallucinate the parameters, 20, 30% of the time. That's not viable for enterprise use at scale. Today, the top models are hitting success rates well over 95% for many common tool calls. That crosses a critical threshold for production reliability.
Okay, model reliability is one. What are the other two?
Second is the ecosystem maturity. We now have these powerful frameworks, things like LangGraph, Microsoft's AutoGen, Crew AI, that dramatically simplify building these agentic systems. What used to require months of complex, bespoke coding by specialized engineers can now often be prototyped and even deployed in weeks using these frameworks. It lowers the barrier to entry significantly.
After development.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And the third factor.
The third addresses a major hurdle for any enterprise, standardization, particularly around security and integration. We're seeing the emergence of protocols like the Model Context Protocol or MCP. These are starting to standardize how agents securely share information and handshake with existing enterprise systems, the ones behind heavy firewalls. This makes deployment safer, more audible, and compliant, which is absolutely critical for IT and security leaders.
Reliability, ecosystem, standardization. Okay, I see how those three converging makes 2025 feel like the tipping point. But when you walk into the boardroom, the conversation inevitably turns to ROI. Are there real numbers yet?
Oh, absolutely. The business case is becoming undeniable. We're seeing compelling data. McKinsey research, for instance, cites clients reporting productivity gains between 20% and even up to 60% in pilot projects, often within just months.
20 to 60%, that's significant. Any specific industry examples?
Look at logistics. DHL deployed autonomous agents for optimizing routes and managing deliveries. The results were pretty staggering. They saw a 30% improvement in on-time delivery rates and achieved about 20% savings in fuel consumption. Those are bottom-line impacts in the millions.
30% better delivery and 20% fuel savings. Okay, what about finance? That always seems like a prime area for automation.
Finance is a huge one. We modeled out a common scenario handling, say, 50,000 routine customer inquiries. Moving that workload to an agentic system showed a potential ROI of 193% just in the first year.
Wow, 193% ROI in year one.
Yes, with a payback period estimated around 4 months. And a big part of that ROI isn't just speed, it's error reduction. Manual processes often have error rates anywhere from 3% to 10%, sometimes higher. Each error costs time and money to fix. These automated agents, they consistently operate with error rates below 1%. That drives down costs significantly.
Those numbers are hard to ignore. But it brings up the flip side, risk. If these agents are acting autonomously, how do you control them? How do you manage the potential downsides?
That's the critical governance question. And let's be clear, this isn't about unleashing uncontrollable AI like in science fiction. The operative concept here is bounded autonomy.
Bounded autonomy.
Meaning, the agent operates within strict, predefined boundaries. It has specific goals, clear constraints on its authority, and defined rules it must follow. It's not free-roaming intelligence. And, crucially, the ultimate accountability, legal, financial, ethical, always stays with the organization. Always. So governance isn't nice to have, it's absolutely essential.
So how do you structure that governance? How do you decide what the agent can do on its own versus what needs a human check?
We advocate for a clear decision matrix. You evaluate potential actions based on, say, 4 key criteria. 1, impact or risk. How significant is the consequence if this action goes wrong? 2, Confidence. How certain is the agent about its proposed action based on the data? 3. Irreversibility. Can the action be easily undone? 4. Novelty. Has the agent successfully handled this exact type of situation many times before, or is it new?
Impact, confidence, irreversibility, novelty,
Okay.
based on those factors.
You define operational zones. You might have a green zone, low impact, high confidence, routine tasks. Think answering standard FAQs, maybe updating contact information. Here, the agent gets full autonomy. It just does it.
Makes sense for low-risk stuff. What about the other end?
That's the red zone. High impact, high novelty, maybe regulatory sensitivity or irreversible actions. Things like approving a very large loan, deciding on a major supplier contract, making payments over a certain threshold, say €10,000, or terminating a customer relationship. In the red zone, human approval is mandatory, regardless of the agent's confidence. The agent might do all the analysis, present the options, even recommend a course of action, but a human makes the final call.
So green zone for full auto, red zone for mandatory human oversight. Is there a middle ground?
Yes, often a yellow zone, where maybe the agent acts but flags it for human review afterwards, or requires human confirmation if its confidence is below, say, 95%. This tiered structure is key to de-risking the deployment.
Can you give an example of this tiered approach in action?
Yeah, fintech loan underwriting is a great one. We've seen models where Tier 1 applications, straightforward, low-risk loans meeting clear criteria are handled with full agent autonomy, approved or declined in minutes. Tier 3 applications, complex cases, very large amounts, unusual applicant history goes straight to a human underwriter for full review. Tier 2 might be handled by the agent but requires human sign-off, the results. They've actually achieved higher accuracy, like 99.2% correct decisions compared to maybe 97.8% historically with humans only, because the agent eliminates routine errors. And the decision time dropped from maybe 48 hours down to 6 hours on average.
Higher accuracy and dramatically faster. That's compelling. Okay, so for the tech leaders listening, once they buy into the concept and the governance, what about the tools? You mentioned frameworks like LangGraph, Autogen. How do they choose?
Right, the technical strategy. It depends on the specific need. If you're building complex, mission-critical production workflows where things like fault tolerance, state management, and conditional logic are paramount, you need robustness. For that, something like LangGraph often stands out because its graph-based structure is really good at managing complex, stateful processes reliably.
Okay, LangGraph for robust production. What about other needs?
If your focus is more on R&D, rapid prototyping, or building agents that need to collaborate conversationally, maybe involving a lot of code generation or data analysis tasks, then Autogen from Microsoft is often a strong choice. It excels in those multi-agent conversational scenarios.
Autogen for R&D and conversational agents. Any others?
Then there's Crew AI.
Hmm.
This one is often positioned as more business process centric. It focuses on creating teams of agents that execute tasks sequentially, often aiming for faster time to market for more straightforward role-based automation.
But wait, if you're building on these frameworks, which are themselves evolving, and they sit on top of LLMs, which are also constantly changing, aren't you just building up a huge amount of technical debt? Integration nightmares down the road.
That is a very real concern, and it requires strategic thinking. It's a trade-off. Using these frameworks accelerates development now massively. But yes, you need an architecture that anticipates change. You need abstraction layers, clear API contracts between components, and a plan for managing updates. It's not set and forget. Choosing a framework involves considering not just current features, but the long-term maintenance implications and the vendor's roadmap. The key takeaway for leaders is that framework choice balances speed now versus stability and flexibility later.
Okay, that makes sense. It's a strategic architectural decision, not just a technical one. So let's look at where this is making waves. What industries are being transformed?
Well, we touched on finance and logistics. In financial services, think fraud detection. Agents can go way beyond simple rules. They can perform much deeper contextual investigations, correlating data from many sources, identifying subtle patterns before flagging an alert. This drastically cuts down false positives, which saves huge amounts of analyst time and improves customer experience, fewer wrongly blocked cards, for instance.
Fewer false positives is a big deal in fraud. What about something like supply chain?
Supply chain is incredibly exciting. We're moving from being reactive, fixing things after they break, to being predictive and even self-healing. Imagine a dedicated supply chain agent constantly monitoring global events, supplier financial health, weather patterns, shipping logistics. We've seen use cases where an agent detected early warning signs of financial distress in a critical component supplier, maybe by analyzing news feeds, payment data, and public filings, a full 6 weeks before that supplier actually defaulted.
6 weeks warning. What could it do with that?
It proactively triggered contingency plans. It identified alternative suppliers, checked their capacity and pricing via API, updated the internal ERP system with the sourcing change, and alerted the human procurement team. The result: they avoided a potential production halt that could have cost upwards of $50 million. That's proactive, autonomous risk mitigation.
Preventing a $50 million disruption. That definitely gets attention. This naturally leads to the human side of things, the workforce transformation. What does this mean for employees?
It's probably the most critical and sensitive aspect for leaders to manage. The narrative shouldn't be just about replacement, it's about elevation. The future looks like a blended digital workforce. Humans focus more on the uniquely human skills: complex strategy, creativity, empathy, building relationships, handling ambiguity, and ethical nuance. The agents handle that structured, rule-based, data-intensive 15% or potentially more over time of daily decisions and tasks. This frees up human potential.
But that requires a shift in skills, right? People need to be able to work with these agents.
Absolutely. Upskilling and reskilling become core business imperatives, not just HR initiatives. Organizations need to actively cultivate new roles. We'll need agent supervisors or AI trainers, people who monitor agent performance, audit decisions, provide feedback, and refine the operating parameters. We'll need data interpretation specialists, people who can bridge the gap between business needs and the data the agents use, ensuring the perception is accurate. And critically, roles like ethical auditors or AI governance officers become essential to ensure agents operate within those bounded autonomy guidelines and align with company values.
Agent supervisor, data interpreter, ethical auditor, new roles for a new era. So wrapping this up, what's the final message for the C-suite listening today?
The message is one of urgency and opportunity. Agentic AI isn't just the next incremental step after chatbots. It's a foundational shift in automation, akin to how cloud computing reshaped IT. And the technology, as we've discussed, is largely ready for production now. The reliability is there, the frameworks are maturing. Leaders need to adopt an agent-first mindset when designing or redesigning business processes. Ask, could an agent handle this? Starting now with a clear, phased roadmap, assess your processes, pilot in a controlled area, then scale strategically is crucial. Weighting risks falling behind significantly in the next 3 to 5 years. This is about building a durable competitive advantage.
So the takeaway isn't if, but very much how and when. The technology is here, the ROI is compelling, the governance models exist, it's time to move.
Exactly. And while we've covered the strategic landscape today, the definition, the ROI, governance, the tech choices, actually implementing this requires detailed planning. That's where having comprehensive checklists, step-by-step guides for implementation, for ensuring compliance, for scaling effectively, becomes vital for navigating this transformation successfully.
It really feels like the value goes far beyond just making current processes faster or cheaper, though. That's where my final thought goes. For everyone listening, the truly provocative question isn't just how can we use agentic AI to improve what we already do? It's how can we use this autonomy to offer something completely new, a new service, a new business model, something that's literally impossible today. That feels like the real frontier here. Thank you for sharing such deep insights on this. It's clearly a game changer.